So I brought Stixen to talk about concept albums from 3 different artists. So we're going to start with Grimes and the album Art Angels. So I'm curious as to what that album means to you and why that was one of the ones that you chose today.
I don't know. I was thinking about that on the way over here today because I was like, honestly, like, I don't even know if that counts as like a concept album because it's not like a through line concept.
Yeah.
But Grimes was one of the first artists that I listened to that wasn't strictly like one genre.
Okay.
And I feel like what she brings to the table is like that kind of like electro pop, like art thing.
Yeah.
And that album was the first time I'd ever interacted with a genre like that where I was like, oh, this really fits my vibe and my soul, and it doesn't necessarily like, it's not just like pop or like one thing.
Yeah.
So I really liked that, but I also just feel like Grime has such a like, I don't know, she just like, her vibe is so very like my vibe. You know what I mean? It's very like ethereal, and like I think that's what like the 3 artists that I picked to talk about today, all of them
very much so that.
They're very like ethereal voices. They're very like kind of like soft, pretty voices, but it's very like dirty, grimy subject matter, very edgy. And I know we're gonna talk about it later, but like Kill V Mame is like one of my top 3 songs ever.
I mean, we can talk about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the first song that I was like, this sounds like my soul. Like it's like cutesy and it's poppy and it's like, I'm gonna beat you up, but like I'm gonna be like cute about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is how I want to be in my life.
I hate to use the Harley Quinn comparison because I feel like every bitch on earth is like, I'm a Harley Quinn.
Fully.
But like almost, not Harley, but her energy.
It's weaponized femininity, which I love that.
Which I love that because it's almost kind of like the Riot Girl roots.
Exactly.
At its core, but it's kind of the evolution of Riot Girl to me.
I agree with that. Yeah, it feels very that. It feels very like video game vixen kind of thing. You know what I mean? Which I
like
really
the Lollipop
vibe with.
Chainsaw Girl, like very
my vibe. Yeah,
Cammy
literally.
from Street Fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it scratched that itch for me, and I never had anything that scratched it that satisfactorily. You know what I mean? Where I was like, oh, this is exactly what I've been looking for my entire life, and I finally like. That's what that part of me sounds like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think, and like I also like the fact that Grimes does a really good job of, she can do stuff like that, but then like she like 2 of her other songs that I really love are what's it called? There's one that she has about heroin that I really like, and it's just like pared down guitar, and it's really beautiful. That one was from her newer album. And then Oblivion, which was one from before. Like,
it's Delete Forever, by the way.
Delete Forever! Yes, I love Delete Forever. That's
I'm
like
a Grime stan, so like.
Me too. Yeah, Delete Forever. I love that song so much. It always gets me emotional. But also, like, Oblivion, I didn't know until like last year what it was about. And I love that that's how she is as an artist, that it's like you really can plumb the depths of what's going on lyrically, that you can sit there and like open it up and like you can take it for what it is, or you can really get deep with it.
Dive deep. Now, can you tell the kids at home what Oblivion is about, in case they don't know?
Yeah, Oblivion is about when Grimes was sexually assaulted, and it's such an interesting song when it comes to that, because it is really like, it's kind of like light and airy, and like her voice is really soft, and it just like doesn't seem like a song about that at all. No. And then when you sit and listen to it, it's very much like, it really is talking about some deep shit.
If you listen hard.
Yeah, if you really get into it, which I like that about Grimes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people give her a lot of shit, but she deserves better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Elon Musk stuff is very interesting. I wasn't planning on talking about that, but it almost kind of, I don't really consider them a class traitor, but it feels like they're infiltrating. Which I think that is punk as fuck, and I can't wait for that to come out, that's what's happening.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with the concept of that, so we'll see. Stay tuned, I guess. I hope. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I'm super duper confused about what's going on with the 2 of them, but like...
It's very odd.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
like,
I think it is what it is. I think it's fascinating, though. Like, I just, like, I don't know.
I feel like the thing about Grimes that makes me laugh is that, like, when you sit and listen to her talk, it's like, oh, you are every anime girl I've ever known in my entire life, where you're just like spitting out information and you're like a super duper secret nerd, and everybody looks at you and they're like, she's so weird. I'm like, no, she's just like total like that energy. You know what I mean? Where it's like
absolutely.
you're just a nerd for what you like.
Yeah.
And I think a lot more people would relate to that if they actually sat down and listened to her talk.
And paid attention. Absolutely.
But I do get that. I mean, I think she makes herself in some ways really unrelatable.
Yes.
Because of some of the stuff she
because
does.
Because of the character.
Yeah. No,
because
absolutely.
ultimately, you know, like, it is a character.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I feel like that anytime somebody is a character, they lose that level of relatability.
Absolutely.
So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Grimes does a lot of things themselves, like production, like self-direction, and you are a very self-sufficient drag queen. From my understanding, you make a lot of your own things. Does Grimes have any kind of hand in you wanting to be self-sufficient?
Not necessarily, but I think that's what...
Does it just kind of make sense?
Yeah.
When you see that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the reason I got into Grimes in the first place was I watched, like, this mini-doc about her, how she, like, left her label and then, like, did Art Angels all by herself and produced it. And I mean, it was like a 6-minute long YouTube video about it on YouTube before I'd even really listened to much of her stuff. And I was like, oh, I really vibe with that, and I like that she's kind of somebody who's very much forging her own path, and I very much feel similarly about that, where it's just sort of like, it's not necessarily like somebody's telling you to do it, it's not like something's pushing you to do it, you just turn around and go like, oh, you can just do it. I just went like through a whole, like I cleared a whole forest and I didn't even realize it.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I like Grimes so much, as I do feel like
you can empathize. Yeah,
and I like listening to how she talks about her work, because I think I feel similarly about it, where it's like you can sit there and like take it for what it is, like we were saying earlier, but like I don't know, like she has a video about like the Violence music video that she made, and like all of the decisions she made, it's very similar to like the way my brain works, where it's like, well, you can watch my drag and like just take it for what it is, but like there's usually like
if you really think
a bunch of decisions behind every little piece of it. So it's satisfying to watch another artist do that and to know that like, oh, I'm not alone in that. And I mean, I think all 3 artists that I picked today, like all of them have a great work ethic, and they're very detailed about the work that they do. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I feel like your relatability with Grimes is sounding like it's just across the board.
It really is. I think out of all 3 of the artists that I have today, like she's the most like punk and like that like tough energy, which I'm always like interested in harnessing that, especially in drag, because it's like I don't feel threatening. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to have this feeling of being like, oh, I can be like a tough like girl and still be cutesy and still be like femme as fuck and have it be like a tough femme. Like it doesn't have to be one way or another. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I love that.
Me too.
And it's nice. It's always comforting to see somebody represented in media that you can be like,